everyone, my name is Evelyn Money, and most of you know me as Wherever.
Hi, I'm Annabelle Ali, and welcome to Let's Talk.
Let's Talk, a podcast that we decided to start, some 6 months ago, and finally we are here recording this.
So, our first segment is about harassment and stalking. We are not subject matter experts.
But we are just sharing our own personal experiences and hoping that this might motivate some of you to share your stories, or you could simply relate to what we're sharing. Um, and this is a very heavy subject, and if it disturbs you, you are most welcome to switch off. And there are obviously helplines and other sources available that you can go to for further help and assistance.
So, I think it's something that I have personally gone through it. And when you shared your experience, I thought it would be something that we can put out there because people don't talk about these issues, It's considered embarrassment, it's considered a taboo. And I think the other factor is the timing difference because it's been 4 years since I've actually gone through it. So now I have the courage to actually come out and speak about it. So, what about you?
So I chose to talk about this because I was harassed and stalked when I ended a relationship, and I thought how inconvenient and how weird it was for that to happen to me, especially in today's day and age where we know there's so much awareness and so much education on why harassment and stalking is not okay. So for me, that's the reason why I thought it's a very relevant subject and very prevalent in our society today.
So I think just as you, Evelyn, when I ended the relationship, there was harassment, there was stalking in the forms of just basically turning up at my workplace, damage of my properties, or 6 a.m. outside my house, just standing there and just looking at me, or looking at the rear view mirror and seeing him driving behind me. So just those instances where it drives the fear and intimidation. I think even during the relationship, I had to go through that. In one instance, I was out having dinner with a few colleagues, a professional dinner, and he was standing outside, waiting for me and just yelling and screaming for me to get inside the car. So in that instance, you when it happens the first time, you become numb. You don't expect it, and you just follow the lead and get in the car just to keep the peace and because you're embarrassed as well the first time it happens.
Although I ended the relationship, then the harassment and stalking followed. Like I didn't encounter this during the relationship. And when the relationship ended, in my like, I thought it was inconvenient and I thought it was unnecessary when you've ended a relationship with someone and that person starts to harass you for what? And so the the person would follow me. He would drive up and down on my street, and there was an instances where he would throw rocks and stones on my house. Um, and so yeah, these are some things that happened with me, and I even wrote about it on my blog, and I shared how harassment and stalking is not okay. And yeah, so these are just some of the things that happened to me, and I thought if it can happen to someone like me, I could only imagine how many other people it would happen with. So when this started happening to me, I was extremely shocked. I was in shock, and for a split second, maybe denial as well, because I thought this can't be happening to me, especially when we had both ended the relationship amicably, and he decided to harass me. So for me, that was very shocking, and I think I was a bit embarrassed as well. I remember telling my friends and you guys how embarrassing it is and how I had to go to the police station. I've never been to the police station in my life. And so having to go to the police station to lodge a official complaint as such, yeah, for me, it was a very traumatizing experience. I couldn't sleep. I felt like my safety had been compromised, um, because I had trusted someone so completely that when somebody decides to follow you, drive behind you, or like drive up and down your street, or even stone your house, you never know what this type of person is capable of.
So I think for me, the first thing that happened was shock as well. It's not something that you go through it every day. Um, and my relationship with this person was for 4 years, and for that 4 years, most of it was not harassment, maybe, but it was a lot of stalking, a lot of the property damages, and it just over time it makes you sad, and it becomes part of your life. So for that 4 years, um, that was it. That was my relationship. The anger, the violence, the harassment. So towards the end of it, I started retaliating because of the time spent, right? 4 years. It's a long, long time to endure something like that. I started retaliating as well. I started throwing things, and then at the end of it, I realized I'm not this person. This is not me. Um, so I chose to do the right thing, went ahead and filed the DVRO, and I thought, I need to do this. And at the end of it, I felt relief. There was a lot of relief. There was a lot of burden lifted off me because I knew it was the right thing to do. At the back of my mind, there was this niggling fear, that despite having that DVRO in place, he might appear anywhere that I am, because he knew my habits, my routine, So I started changing my routine, pattern. Like I started changing what time I went to work, what time I went to train. There was a lot of changes required for me to just move on.
And I think, once you get a DVRO in place, it becomes, you feel safeguarded to know that there are laws in place that can protect you. Unfortunately, we hear of reports of people losing their lives because of, violence and harassment and stalking. And not just women, men as well go through the same thing. So by no means are we saying only women go
Only
through this.
women go through it. Yeah, there are men out there who have raised this issue as well.
So how did you deal with,
The 4 years.
it's the 4 years?
I must say I had a good support um, network behind me. I had good friends. I had very supportive friends. One of my best friends, she um, saw me through this entire episode, if I may say. My sister was there. My family was really there. And I had good friends as well, and that really helped me come out of it. What about you?
I think same for me. And then I didn't know you back then when you went through this, but then when we became friends, you shared how you went through all of this. And I think it made it not easier, but it made the process for me to process what's happening a bit more easier, and to sort of deal with all these emotions that I was going through. So like you said, having a good support system is very important, and that really helped. I did, however, have a friend who I thought was a friend say that, oh, this is happening because you post everything on social media. And then I was a bit appalled at that comment because I felt that it's important to have supportive friends. I will post whatever I want on social media. I don't
It's your
need,
social media.
exactly, I don't need
Yeah.
someone else to tell me what to do and what not to do.
Yeah.
Harassment and stalking is not okay.
Another misconception is you're strong, you're independent, financially independent, you're working. How can this happen to you?
Exactly. And unfortunately, we know of people, men and women both, who are still in relationships where there's a lot of harassment going on. I mean, even domestic violence and stalking. And it's unfortunate, especially in today's, day and age where there's so much awareness on this topic. But still, when I shared it with a few people, they made fun of it. I felt embarrassment because in my head I was thinking, how is this happening to me? What have I done wrong? I was embarrassed to the fact I was not going to go to the police.
Let's also talk about our culture.
Mhm.
It's considered such an embarrassment to even
Yeah,
talk about this.
exactly. It's considered an embarrassment that everyone's like, oh, you're the woman in the relationship. You should keep the peace.
Yeah,
It's okay. It happens.
it happens. Men are men,
Try and resolve
yeah,
it.
for the sake of relationship. In the first instance, after the shock subsided, actually, uh, my thoughts were exactly along those lines. I've worked on this relationship. I've put in so much effort. I should stick by it. Um,
And what I refer to, you know, in my former life, I should have left that relationship ages ago, but I stayed in it for 10 years with the hope that the
yeah,
person will change. But unfortunately, he didn't. And I think you should know, and I think we all deep down in our hearts know that a person will change if they want to. And I'm all for trying to resolve problems or trying to, sort things out if it can. But if it cannot, what in my own personal experience, I don't see the point of holding on to it,
yeah.
because not only are you wasting your energy, you're wasting a lot of time, money, even, and a lot of your mental well being as well.
Yeah.
So, what did it take for you to sort of snap out of it? What was that one, like that turning point that made you think that, okay, this is enough, I can't deal with this anymore?
I think the continuity of it, um, and then I realized, I'm going through it. It was mentally exhausting, draining.
Mm.
Imagine a person going through that for four
Yeah.
years. My friends told me about it, like, just get out of it, Annabelle. My family was there. And I think one day I saw my mom and I realized, uh, this is not what she brought me up for. And I just found the courage and pulled myself out of it. There will be dozens of people extending their hands, uh, arms out in support. But if you don't do it, you don't take the first step, it's never going to be, it's never, you will never get through it. I think you are one of the strongest in this regard because I actually saw you pull yourself out of it.
Yeah, I think I'm like my mother when it comes to things like that. But no, for me, I think when someone has wronged me, especially in a relationship, especially when you have, both agreed to being exclusive with each other, and then somebody breaks that trust and that loyalty, for me, it's an immediate switch off. And I'm not going to tolerate trying to fix that relationship. You knew what you did while we were together. And so I think for me, it's always easier to detach and take a step back and tell myself that I'm worth so much more. But then what angered me was that even despite all of that, it gave him somehow the right or the authority to stalk and harass me. It just blew up. It's sometimes we talk about it and we're like, what the hell? Who in the right mind does that?
And I think I remember having both of us having this conversation, and you said to me, don't go into the what of the person. Just don't try and explain that behavior. Just
Exactly.
cut it out and move on.
Yeah.
And I think, um, amongst all of us, you have been the strongest in that regard.
I wouldn't say strongest, but I think my coping mechanisms have been strong. I don't know if that makes sense. I don't know. I
Well, if
mean,
you compare the 4 years, it's much stronger.
well, it took me, in my former life, 10 years. So I think there are different forms of it where you go through in life and you think it's going to get better, it's going to get better. But I think for me, I think the difference between both of our stories is that my relationship ended and the harassment and stalking started, even though he was wrong. Whereas yours was something that happened during the relationship and also continued after, and then you had to get a DVRO.
I had to file a restraining order to actually.
And
Yeah.
then that stopped that kind of behavior.
Yeah. If you are going through harassment or any forms of violence, please understand that there is help available.
Yeah, and I think it's important to find your support system as well. Unfortunately, in our society, in our culture, family may or may not be supportive. And I think it's important to always look for an option, a friend or someone who's closer to you in the family to share your struggles with. And there are laws in place,
like to protect you, yeah, safeguard you, your interests.
So it hasn't been easy talking about this, and we've had to take many takes to get to this version. So let's see. But I think sharing our own personal experiences, and for those of you that follow my, wherever, know that I share exactly what happens, especially exactly what I experience. And so by no means is this a made up story. It happened, and it shouldn't happen to anyone. Um,
These are our own personal experiences,
And we're not subject matter experts either. We're just sharing it as it is.
Yeah.
With a bit of filter. We were trying not to be too filtered, but.
And I think also it is very, very important to understand that there is help available. Please, if you are going through this, reach out to somebody who can help you or even lend you an ear, listen to what you're going through. It is very, very important.
And if anything, you feel comfortable discussing with either of us, feel free to send us a message, or we can always talk to you. If you need any support or help, both of us have been through it. We know what processes, what laws are in place,
what it actually feels like, how you feel.
Yeah, so never feel alone. I think that's important to know that there's always someone out there somewhere that can help you. And so there you go. That's our first of many conversations on
Let's talk.